The mission had been shrouded in secrecy since its inception. As a member of an elite SEAL team, I had faced my fair share of dangerous assignments, but this one felt different, more sinister and foreboding. We were briefed in a dimly lit room, surrounded by high-ranking officials whose faces were etched with worry and trepidation. "Team, you're about to embark on a mission of the utmost importance," General Carter's voice echoed through the room. "We've been dealing with a dangerous experiment gone awry, and we need you to neutralize the threat." He looked at each of us, his eyes carrying the weight of the knowledge he possessed. The room felt heavy with anticipation, but none of us dared to question the nature of the threat we were about to face. "We've been conducting top-secret experiments, attempting to create super soldiers to combat potential threats," General Carter continued. "But something went terribly wrong. These creatures, they're beyond our control now." His words sent a shiver down my spine. We were to face beings that were once human, now twisted and monstrous. The thought was unsettling, but our training forced us to suppress any fear that threatened to overwhelm us. "The experiments are in an isolated facility deep within the mountains," the general said. "Your mission is to locate and neutralize the creatures. Your safety is paramount, but these beings cannot be allowed to escape the facility under any circumstances." We nodded in acknowledgement, our minds already strategizing and preparing for the unknown horrors that awaited us. I knew we were stepping into a nightmarish realm where even our highly specialized training might be put to the ultimate test. In the following hours, we were equipped with state-of-the-art weaponry and gear, each item serving as a lifeline in the darkness we were about to confront. As we boarded the transport, I glanced at my team members, some of whom I had known for years. A sense of camaraderie and trust was crucial in times like these. The journey to the isolated facility was grueling, but the anticipation of the mission kept us focused. We landed under the cover of darkness, and the sight of the imposing mountains looming before us filled me with both awe and dread. The facility was hidden within the vast wilderness, a testament to the government's desire to keep their dangerous experiments far from prying eyes. We knew that even those who had initiated this project were fearful of what they had created. With our night vision goggles engaged, we moved through the dense forest, every rustle of leaves making us acutely aware of our surroundings. The only sounds were the quiet huffs of our breaths and the distant howls of unknown creatures. As we approached the facility's entrance, a feeling of unease settled over the team. The air felt charged with an unknown energy, as if the very earth was warning us to turn back. But we were SEALs, bound by duty, and we had accepted the risks that came with it. We ventured into the facility, our movements swift and calculated. The corridors were dimly lit, flickering lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. As we explored deeper, signs of struggle became apparent. Broken equipment, scattered papers, and pools of dried blood indicated that something had gone horribly wrong within these walls. Suddenly, a guttural growl echoed through the corridors, followed by a sinister hiss. We raised our weapons, prepared for an encounter with the monsters that were now the result of a government's hubris. The creature emerged from the darkness, a grotesque amalgamation of flesh and metal, once a human now transformed into a nightmarish beast. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light, and its movements were erratic and unpredictable. As the creature lunged at us, we opened fire, our bullets cutting through the air like a deadly storm. But it was relentless, driven by an unquenchable hunger. Our weapons seemed to have little effect, and a sense of dread settled over us as we realized the true magnitude of the threat we were facing. In that moment, I knew that we were not only in a battle for our lives, but for the very survival of humanity. The horrors created by the government had become a force beyond our understanding, and as a SEAL team, we had been thrust into the heart of darkness to confront the monsters that were now unleashed upon the world. As our weapons failed to halt the relentless creature's advance, panic crept into our hearts. We were facing something beyond our training, beyond any human comprehension. The air thickened with the stench of fear, sweat, and the metallic tang of blood. Fall back," Commander Adams shouted, his voice a mixture of command and desperation. As a team, we retreated, our eyes never leaving the nightmarish creature. Its guttural growls and unnatural movements made it clear that this was not merely a human experiment gone awry. It was a monstrosity that defied the laws of nature. We found, in a temporary refuge in a nearby room, barricading the door as best we could. Our minds raced with the gravity of our situation. The mission had gone from dangerous to potentially catastrophic, and we were ill-equipped to deal with the horrors that now stalked the facility. "What the hell were they doing here?" Ramirez muttered, his voice trembling. "I don't know, but we can't let those things get out," I replied, my mind racing for a plan. "We need to find a way to stop them," Commander Adams interjected, his face tense with a mix of fear and determination. "We'll seal off the facility and ensure they can't escape into the outside world." Despite our fear, we knew there was no other choice. We couldn't let these creatures roam free, wreaking havoc on unsuspecting civilians. We were the last line of defense, and it was our duty to protect humanity from the terrifying consequences of the government's recklessness. Leaving the relative safety of the room, we cautiously continued our search for the source of the monsters. Along the way, we encountered more of these abominations, twisted beings with distorted features and insatiable aggression. Each confrontation tested our resolve, pushing us to the brink of our physical and mental limits. But we were SEALs, trained to persevere even in the face of the unimaginable. We fought with every ounce of strength, our camaraderie the only thread keeping us from breaking under the weight of terror. As we advanced deeper into the facility, we stumbled upon a hidden laboratory, a place where unimaginable horrors had been brought to life. Scientific notes and journals scattered across the room hinted at the sinister experiments conducted here. "They were trying to create super soldiers," Ramirez muttered, his voice heavy with disbelief and anger. "They played with forces they shouldn't have." Our hearts sank, realizing the extent of the government's ambition and hubris. The consequences of their actions now threatened the entire world. As we searched for a way to contain the monsters, a haunting realization dawned on us. The facility's power supply had been tampered with. If we didn't act quickly, the creatures would be unleashed upon the world, free to spread chaos and destruction. "We have to shut it down," I yelled, my voice filled with urgency. Following the main power lines, we raced against time to stop the facility from reaching a catastrophic point of no return. Along the way, we encountered more of the creatures, each battle pushing us to our limits. Finally, we reached the facility's main control room, our last chance to prevent the horrors from spreading. The room was bathed in an eerie glow from the blinking control panels, a surreal sight amidst the darkness and destruction that surrounded us. With a sense of grim determination, Commander Adams worked quickly to override the systems. Each second felt like an eternity, the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. The creature's howls echoed in the distance, urging us to hurry. "Now push." Commander Adams succeeded in shutting down the facility's power, plunging us into darkness. The alarms silenced, and the monster's growls faded into nothingness. For a moment, the world stood still, our hearts pounding in our chests. We had done it. We had stopped the monsters from escaping. But as we stood there, our relief was short-lived. In the darkness, the glowing eyes of the creatures emerged once more. We had shut down the facility's power, but these monstrosities were now free. Our mission had taken an unforeseen turn. The monsters were loose, and we were trapped in a facility that had turned into a labyrinth of horrors. We were SEALs, warriors forged in the crucible of danger. But nothing could have prepared us for the true depths of the darkness we had unleashed. Our resolve would be tested like never before, as we fought to survive against the very horrors we had been sent to confront. In the suffocating darkness of the facility, the monsters closed in on us with an eerie precision, their glowing eyes fixated on our trembling forms. We had inadvertently become the prey, trapped in the belly of the beast we had come to destroy. "Stay calm. We need to stick together," Commander Adams said, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped us all. As SEALs, we had been trained to face the most challenging and perilous situations, but this was unlike anything we had ever encountered. The creatures moved with an otherworldly agility, their inhuman forms making them formidable opponents. In the dim light of our flashlights, their grotesque features were revealed. Distorted limbs, sharp claws, and eyes that seemed to pierce into our very souls. They snarled and growled, a cacophony of menacing sounds that echoed through the corridors, closing in on us from all sides. We retreated, but it felt like the creatures were hurting us. driving us deeper into the facility's labyrinth. Panic surged through our veins, but we knew we couldn't allow fear to consume us. Our lives, and potentially the fate of humanity, rested on our ability to survive this nightmarish ordeal. As we navigated the maze-like structure, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon, the faint light of an exit sign. It was our only chance of escape, and we pushed forward with renewed determination, adrenaline surging through our bodies. But the creatures seemed relentless, always just a step behind, taunting us with their unnerving presence. They were cunning predators, using the darkness to their advantage as they closed in for the kill. Bullets whizzed through the air as we fought back, but it was apparent that our conventional weaponry had limited effect on these abominations. We needed a plan, a strategy to outsmart and evade them, but in the chaos of the moment, clear thinking seemed like an elusive luxury. "Head for the exit! Move, move!" Commander Adams barked, his authoritative voice cutting through the chaos. We sprinted, our hearts pounding as the exit sign drew closer. The monsters snarled and lunged, but we managed to fend them off long enough to reach the door leading outside. As we burst into the open air, a sense of relief washed over us, but it was short-lived. The creatures had followed us, and now we were exposed, far from the relative safety of the facility's walls. The surrounding forest offered little solace. It was a vast, dark expanse with an eerie silence that belied the horrors lurking within. The creatures circled us, their glowing eyes reflecting the moonlight, and we formed a defensive circle, ready to face the battle that would decide our fate. In the ensuing melee, we fought with everything we had, our training and instincts taking over. We adapted, learning their patterns and weaknesses, but for every creature we managed to neutralize, it seemed two more emerged from the shadows. Desperation took hold as we realized the odds were overwhelmingly against us. Our ammunition was dwindling, and fatigue gnawed at our limbs. Despite our valiant efforts, it seemed that the creatures were inexhaustible, their hunger for destruction unquenchable. One by one, my comrades fell, men I had fought alongside for years, brothers in arms who had faced danger and death with unyielding resolve. Now they lay still, their lifeless forms a grim reminder of the price we were paying for the government's reckless ambitions. As I continued to fight, a chilling realization struck me. The creatures were not just created by the government, they were born from the darkest corners of our own nature. These monsters were a reflection of humanity's desire to wield power without consequence, to play with forces beyond our understanding. In the end, I found myself alone, surrounded by the fallen bodies of my comrades and the relentless onslaught of the creatures. I knew I couldn't escape, that I had become one of the last victims of the horrors created by the government's insatiable thirst for dominance. As the creatures closed in, I made my final stand, determined to face my fate with the same courage and resilience that had defined my life as a SEAL. But in those fleeting moments, as their claws tore into my flesh, I couldn't help but wonder if the true monsters were not the creatures that surrounded me, but the darkness that lurked within each one of us. A darkness that could consume even the bravest souls in the pursuit of power and control. My vision blurred, and the world around me seemed to fade into an eerie darkness. Pain and exhaustion mingled with a surreal sense of resignation as the monsters closed in, their malevolent presence overpowering my senses. As I struggled to stay conscious, memories of my fallen comrades flashed before my eyes, their faces etched with determination and camaraderie. I had fought beside them, laughed with them, and now I would join them in the annals of this nightmarish tragedy. In the last moments of my fading consciousness, an unexpected glimmer of hope flickered in the distant sound of helicopter blades cutting through the air. My fellow SEALs might be gone, but it seemed that reinforcements had arrived, drawn by the chaotic commotion of the battle. Despite my body's protests, I managed to raise my arm, waving it weakly to signal the approaching help. The monsters, momentarily disoriented by the unexpected noise, turned their attention towards the source of the sound. As the helicopter's spotlight illuminated the forest, the creatures hissed and snarled, their eyes reflecting a mix of fear and anger. The new arrivals fired their weapons, and the creatures were forced to retreat into the shadows, retreating from the blinding light. Blessed darkness enveloped me as my strength waned, and I felt myself being carried away from the battlefield. In the moments of oblivion that followed, I wondered if the government's dark secrets would ever be fully exposed. How many more would suffer because of the twisted ambitions of those in power? When I awoke, I found myself in a military infirmary, surrounded by medical personnel and high-ranking officials. The room was cold and sterile, a stark contrast to the horrors I had witnessed in the facility in the forest. General Carter approached, his face a mix of relief and guilt. "You're alive, son. I can't begin to express how sorry I am for what happened." His words felt hollow, and I couldn't find the strength to respond. The memories of my fallen comrades haunted my thoughts, and I wondered if the sacrifices we had made would ever be acknowledged. "We've contained the creatures," the general continued, "but we know that this is far from over. We need to clean up the mess we created, but it will take time and resources." As he spoke, I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. The government's reckless experiments had cost the lives of my team, and I wasn't sure if the truth would ever be acknowledged beyond these walls. In the days that followed, I recuperated physically, but the psychological scars ran deep. Nightmares of the creatures and the fallen faces of my comrades haunted my sleep, leaving me questioning the true nature of the mission we had been sent on. Over time, the incident was swept under the rug, classified as a disastrous experiment gone awry. The official narrative spoke of a rogue faction within the government, but those who had orchestrated the mission remained untouched, shielded by the very walls of secrecy that had allowed these horrors to unfold. I returned to my civilian life, haunted by the truth I couldn't reveal, a truth that left me feeling betrayed by the government I had once sworn to protect. The monsters we faced weren't just the creations of a government experiment. They were the embodiment of unchecked power, a reminder of the darkness that lurked in the shadows of those who held control. In the years that followed, the truth of that fateful mission became my burden to bear, etched into my soul like a scar that would never fade. As a member of the elite SEALs, I had faced countless enemies, but the true monsters had been those who wielded power without accountability, creating chaos and destruction with little regard for the consequences. Now I find myself haunted not only by the horrors I faced in that isolated facility, but also by the realization that the true monsters walk among us, hidden by the shadows of secrecy and the illusion of authority. The price of our silence was steep, paid in the blood of my comrades, and the innocence lost to the darkness of human ambition. And so, the horrors created by the government continue to lurk in the depths, their existence concealed by a web of lies and deception. My memories of that mission are a constant reminder of the darkness that resides within us all, a darkness that must be confronted and exposed if we are to prevent the monsters from wreaking havoc upon the world once more. As the years passed, I found myself grappling with the weight of the truth I carried within me. The memories of that harrowing mission had become a haunting burden, consuming my thoughts, and even in the light of day, I could not escape the shadows that clung to my soul. Haunted by guilt and the faces of my fallen comrades, I began to withdraw from the world, seeking solace in solitude. The camaraderie and brotherhood I once cherished with my fellow SEALs had turned into a painful reminder of the losses we had suffered and the secrets we held. In the darkness of sleepless nights, I found myself haunted not only by the monstrous beings we had faced, but also by the realization that the government's darkest secrets were buried beneath layers of deception. The monsters we had fought were not just the products of reckless experimentation, but a manifestation of the unchecked power wielded by those in control. The weight of silence weighed heavily on my conscience, and I knew I had to make a choice. The truth deserved to be revealed, not just for the memory of my fallen comrades, but for the safety of humanity itself. Gathering my courage, I reached out to a trusted journalist known for exposing government misconduct. We met in secret, and I poured out the truth, the horrors I had witnessed, the comrades I had lost, and the sinister experiments that had led to the creation of those monstrous creatures. Together, we began to dig deeper, uncovering evidence that confirmed the dark web of secrets and lies that had led to the disastrous mission. Our investigation led us to connect the dots, revealing the faces of those behind the malevolent experiments. As the truth came to light, the public's fury was ignited. A storm of demands for accountability swept across the nation. The government's carefully crafted facade of control began to crumble, and the true villains behind the operation could no longer hide. High-ranking officials who had orchestrated the mission were exposed, their reputations tarnished by the weight of their own malevolence. The world watched in shock as the curtain of secrecy was drawn back, revealing the true nature of the horrors that had been unleashed. For the families of my fallen comrades, there was a sense of justice, a recognition of the sacrifices their loved ones had made, and the truth that had finally been acknowledged. The memory of my brave teammates would not be forgotten, and their lives would not be lost in vain. The monsters created by the government's ambition were not eradicated, but the exposure of their existence forced the government to take drastic measures to contain the threat. Secret facilities were shut down, and a new era of accountability and transparency began to take root. Yet, despite the revelations and the exposure of the truth, I found little solace. The scars of that mission still lingered. The nightmares still visited me in the silence of the night. The burden of knowing the darkest secrets of humanity weighed heavily on my soul. In my quest for justice, I had brought the truth to light, but the darkness that resided within me remained. The monsters I had faced had become a metaphor for the darkest aspects of human nature, a reminder of the thin line that separates heroism from malevolence. In the end, the horror of that mission had left an indelible mark on my life, forever changing the man I once was. The quest for truth and accountability had come at a high cost, and the demons of that nightmarish mission would continue to haunt me in the shadows of my memories. As I walked away from the spotlight, retreating from the public eye, I knew that the true battle against darkness was not fought on battlefields or in secret facilities. It was fought within the hearts and minds of every individual. Only by acknowledging the darkness within ourselves could we hope to prevent the monsters from ever rising again. And so I walk a path of redemption and self-discovery, forever changed by that fateful mission. I carry the memories of my fallen comrades with me, honoring their bravery and sacrifice. In their memory, I strive to be a light in the darkness, exposing the secrets and lies that threaten to unleash monsters upon the world once more. The journey ahead is uncertain, and the horrors I faced may never fully fade. But I will continue to confront the darkness, not just within the government but within myself, and in every corner of society. For only in the relentless pursuit of truth and accountability can we hope to prevent the true monsters from ever rising again. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a new channel, but there will be plenty more videos coming in the following weeks. So remember to like this video. If you enjoyed it, your likes help push this video to others who might enjoy it. This is Mr. Night-Terror. Stay scared, my friends.